The Getaway is the 21st episode of the third season of Everybody Loves Raymond. This is directed by Steve Zuckerman, and as always, there will be spoilers from now as I go through the episode and share some thoughts. And I enjoyed this episode. I thought it was pretty decent. It starts off with Ray coming into the house. Debra is sorting through vacation brochures, and they're trying to decide somewhere to go. They end up deciding on Vermont because Ray liked the sound of the Ben & Jerry's tour. Who wouldn't? We're then in a changing rooms in a store, and Debra is trying on clothing with Amy. She's trying to find some clothes to wear. I think this is the first time Amy's been in it since she and Robert broke up. I could be wrong about that, but it's been a while. And Debra can't find anything to wear, but that's not the biggest thing that's bothering her. She's worried that she's going to seem really boring, and that Ray will find her to be just a boring wife and not somebody he'd want to spend a vacation with. And obviously Amy tries to comfort her. She tries to remind her that she actually has a husband, whereas Amy currently has nobody. And Debra's just really upset. We're then back at the house, and Marie is moving in. Frank comes over with Marie, and he just says delivery, and I enjoyed it a lot. I thought Frank was a delight. She's actually babysitting. She's going to be staying there, so we believe, while they're away for the weekend. But actually Robert comes over and is upset that he was not considered for childcare duties, and he points out that he's the one with CPR training and first aid and all of these safety certificates, obviously as a police officer, yet he wasn't trusted to look after the children. To be fair, I don't think that. I think it was quite simply Marie lives over the road. That's significantly easier than Robert having to come over, because if Marie needs something, she can just nip over the road, or I guess call Frank. Robert could call Frank as well. But I don't think Robert was necessarily overlooked, but ultimately he is now allowed to look after the kids, and we'll come back to that in a little bit. But at that time, Ray also expresses that he's worried he's not going to find stuff to talk about while they're on vacation, and he's worried that he's not going to have anything interesting to contribute. And the message very clearly is communicate with your partner if you're having these feelings, because chances are they're feeling the same way, and also they don't feel that about you. At no point does Ray ever express that Debra is boring, and at no point does Debra ever express that she thinks Ray is boring. I think Debra probably wants Ray to contribute to conversations a bit more in general, but both are having these anxieties, very similar anxieties, but none of the anxieties are based on true emotions of the other person. We then cut to the property. It's absolutely gorgeous. The viewer only gets to see the guest house, but it's absolutely gorgeous. I love the decor. I love the little bunnies on the quay. It's very, very cute. And there's this other couple who are there, who are very much in the early phases of their relationship. In fact, I think we're told at one point that it's been 6 months since their first date. And they're very much all over each other and in love, and they can't keep their hands off of each other. Very different to Ray and Debra at this point. We then go back to the house, and this is a pretty fun scene. And I actually laughed out loud at one point. Robert is playing Candyland with the kids. He's doing a great job. Frank comes over looking for Marie. Why would he be looking for Marie if Robert's babysitting? Well, it turns out Marie was upstairs sorting out laundry or something. And that is kind of creepy. The idea that Marie can be in the house and nobody knows. There's something very sinister about that. And Robert says to Ali, "Did you know she was here?" And Ali replies, "Grandma's always here." Which did make me laugh out loud. I did enjoy that very much. And we then spend the rest of the episode in the guest house, and they bump into this couple again, and they go into their room. And I will say, Debra, not for the first time, Debra has reacted unreasonably. Ray will often say things that he shouldn't say, but Debra has a tendency to really overreact to situations, at least in my opinion. Ray asks what they're having for dinner. She says they're going to the hayride. I thought Ray was going to say, "I don't want to go to the hayride, let's stay in," but he didn't. Debra had planned it. He was happy to go. He'd asked what was for dinner. They're having dinner there. He asked what they'd be serving at the cookout, which is a genuine question, and I think a reasonable question. Usually if you're going somewhere that has dinner included, you usually have an idea of what that food is. And Debra just completely lost it and stormed off into the bathroom. It's a shared bathroom with the other residents of the guest house. There was absolutely no need for that outburst, and she ends up sitting on the toilet, and Ray goes in, and there's no lock on the door, which seems like a terrible idea. But he comforts her when he finds out that actually she was crying because she didn't want to come across as boring. And all of the activities she'd organised, she'd done them because she thought Ray would enjoy them and it would distract him from her being boring, even though she probably wasn't boring. And Ray was amused by this because he doesn't see her as boring, and he gave her a hug unprompted. Ray initiating physical contact when it's not for sex almost never happens. So that was a really, really lovely moment. And Ray thought he had nothing to say, and he was saying about how he had said these really stupid things because he didn't know what else to say in the moment. And as I said, if they'd just communicated these feelings, then they would have found out that actually they both felt the same way, but they didn't feel that way about each other. And it was a sweet moment. And then they end up having a nap, and they wake up a little later after 9 o'clock, and they just stay lying on the bed asleep. And honestly, that sounds like a pretty brilliant vacation. I rather enjoyed it. Spend the day out and about and then just crash in the evening. No thoughts other than napping. And I thought it was a nice way to end things. So it is a really good episode. Really lovely set design for the guest house. It's absolutely stunning. Debra overreacted, I think, a little bit much. But at the same time, it's clear where her emotions were coming from. Really nice scenes at the house with the kids and Robert and Marie and Frank. And it was nice to see Amy again. So it's a really good episode. I don't think The Getaway will ever be a favourite. Certainly not an all-time favourite from this season. But that being said, I can't fault it. There are some good messages in it. And it's basically a really enjoyable episode.